With Bron Breakker being this unstoppable badass who in only 8 months has won the Intercontinental Championship not once, but twice, it looks like he's gonna have a long reign ahead of him. But I am here today to predict 5 wrestlers who I believe can dethrone Bron Breakker. And also I will be predicting the likelihood of this happening within the next 3 years. So without further ado, let's get into it with our first wrestler. I know Ilya Dragunov is injured right now, and I know his momentum has been pretty much cut short, and I know we've seen this match so many times before, but you have to admit that Bron Breakker and Ilya Dragunov make nothing but magic when it comes to being put together in singles competition. And if what I've researched is true, Bron Breakker and Ilya Dragunov have only faced each other in singles competition a total of 4 times in their entire WWE career. And their current record, Bron Breakker 3, Ilya Dragunov 2. The most stakes these two have had for their matches was a number 1 contender spot, so it only makes sense that the next match they've had, to even up the playing field, is for the Intercontinental Championship. This feud doesn't need the most complex storyline going into the match, instead it's just 2 badasses going against each other to see which badass comes out on top. Although if I had to book a story beat for the entire match, it would probably be the ending sequence of the match. I would have Ilya Dragunov beat Breakker in the same way he did in their first singles match against each other, with Bron Breakker on his knees in the middle of the ring and Dragunov running from rope to rope just like how Breakker does with his super spear, but instead Dragunov hits Breakker with a torpedo Moscow. And then boom, Ilya Dragunov is the new Intercontinental Champion. Then of course in the future, it has to be a best of 7 series, so with Breakker and Ilya being 3-3, it only makes sense that their last match is for maybe another title, but it also needs to have a stipulation. And the stipulation that comes to mind is an Extreme Rules match. And this is the type of storyline where either person can go over, so I just want to see them beat the hell out of each other. I'd rate the probability of this match happening in the next 3 years a 3 out of 10. Now moving on to our second wrestler. The biggest issue I have with Finn Balor is that he's been built to be pretty weak. He has lost to Edge as the Demon, and it looks like he's going to be losing to Damian Priest in their current feud. All of this makes me feel like Balor isn't intimidating or credible or threatening as a heel. That's why I believe that Finn Balor should be the one to dethrone Breakker, mainly just to get his credibility back. I have to admit that the Judgment Day does nothing for Balor. The Judgment Day is a goober squad that Rhea Ripley or Damian Priest can easily take out on their own. The way I would book this feud between Balor and Breakker is to have Balor slowly leave the Judgment Day. I don't mean Balor should turn face or abandon the Judgment Day. Instead, I want Balor to pursue a singles run where he has the Judgment Day in his back pocket, but not necessarily need them. We need shades of NXT Balor, more specifically his last run in NXT. Then eventually when it comes to the match itself, I want Balor to bring out the Demon again. See, the Demon has been built to be weak, especially in its last 2 matches. So bringing out the Demon not only protects Breakker, but it also shows that Balor needs his old self again to be dominant. And also a little side note, the poster of this would look so cool. Just imagine the moniker, the Badass versus the Demon for the Intercontinental Championship. The posters, the graphics, everything would look amazing, and I want WWE to book this match. I'd rate the probability of this match happening within the next 3 years a solid 3 out of 10. Now moving on to wrestler number 3. They say in life, good things come in threes. So what better way to show this by having Jey Uso versus Bron Breakker 3. As much as I prefer Jey and Jimmy being a tag team as the Usos, I can't deny that when Jey Uso had the Intercontinental Championship, he had a lot of aura. After the Bloodline storyline, I want Jey to go back on a singles run and climb his way back into the title picture. But you could tell the story that this isn't the same Jey Uso. This is a more refined version of Jey Uso. It feels like ever since Jey had his singles run, he was always built as this underdog. But now I want the story for them to tell is that Jay is a grizzled veteran coming back for what was his. If I were to book this match would need to have a stipulation. And the stipulation that comes to my head is a no disqualification falls count anywhere match. And you're probably thinking, the bloodline can easily interfere. But I say they shouldn't at all. Jay has made it clear that he doesn't need the bloodline unless it's bloodline's business. So I say that Jay should win this match by himself and really cement himself as a main event superstar. And the probability I would give this match within the next 3 years is a 5 out of 10. Now moving on to wrestler number 4. Till this day, I still believe that Chad Gable is one of the best wrestlers. I also believe that he will capture singles gold within the next 3 years. Gable is not only great in the ring, but he is also one of the most charismatic wrestlers on the mic. So the way I would book this feud is by having Breakker go up against the entire American Made. And no, I don't mean a handicap match. Instead, the story that they should tell is that Gable wants to be known as one of the greats. He wants to be compared to Kurt Angle, he wants to be compared to Brock Lesnar, he wants to be compared to Mark Henry, etc. They all have one thing in common: amateur wrestlers who were able to capture singles gold within the WWE. This leads to Chad Gable having his sights on Bron Breakker. Building towards their match, each week Gable tries to get under Breakker's skin, having a Creed brother challenge Bron to a match each week. But each match that they have has a common theme. See, the Creed brothers don't need to win their matches. Instead, they just need to inflict as much damage as possible to Bron Breakker. And the common theme amongst these matches is that they go for the legs. They go for Dragon Whip leg screws. They go for ankle locks. They go for submissions that attack the knees and the ankles. Anything that has to do with the legs. Of course, you have Breakker go over in those matches against the Creed brothers, which leads to Bron Breakker getting cocky against Chad Gable. As much as Breakker is this unstoppable badass, he lacks wisdom and he lacks foresight, which is something Chad Gable could take advantage of. So the match between Breakker and Gable happens. And in this match, I'd say that they should make it the second coming of Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle. Have the story throughout the entire match, Gable going for Bron Breakker's legs, going for chop blocks, going for ankle locks, all of that. Eventually, the closing sequence of the match is Gable standing in the middle of the ring and Bron getting ready to hit his super spear. Bron runs towards the ropes, bounces off of them, and falls down to the mat. This is because his legs are way too injured to continue the move. This leads to Chad Gable falling onto the mat as well. And we could see Bron Breakker crawling to the corner, trying to bring himself back up to a standing position. Gable sees this and rushes to the same corner where Gable hits Breakker with a chaos theory. Have Gable pin Breakker, 1, 2, Breakker kicks out, and then Gable immediately puts Breakker in an ankle lock. And to protect Breakker, you can have him pass out, but if it were up to me, I would make Breakker tap out. And then Chad Gable finally becomes an Intercontinental Champion. The probability of this match happening, to me, I would predict a 7 out of 10 within the next 3 years. And finally, wrestler number 5. Okay, let's be honest. Out of the entire WWE roster, Sheamus is one that I believe should be the one to dethrone Bron Breakker. It's mainly because I believe that Sheamus is the most deserving out of everyone else that I've named today. The story is right there. Sheamus just needs the Intercontinental Championship to fulfill the prophecy of becoming a Grand Slam champion within the WWE. Again, this is one of those storylines where you don't need anything complex. But if it had to have a story, the story that I would tell is that Sheamus is sick of these newbies getting all these title opportunities. I really want them to show that Sheamus hates the cockiness of Breakker and he wants to beat him but also take his title away from him. The way I would book this match is nothing unique. It's pretty much a copy-paste, a copycat booking storyline. And that is to have career versus championship. See, for this match to happen, Sheamus needs serious stakes. And what more serious stakes can you have than putting your whole career on the line? It's the only way I see Bron Breakker accepting this match. As for Sheamus, he has nothing left to do in WWE. He's become world champion, he's become a mid-card champion, he's become Money in the Bank winner, Royal Rumble winner, tag team champions, you name it, he's done it. So there is really no point for him to pursue a career if it's not for the Intercontinental Championship. And this match is going to be stiff, this match is going to be hard hitting, and I want both wrestlers to look red, not because of blood, because of all the chops and welts. And I believe the finish should be Sheamus in the middle of the ring getting set for a super spear, which he counters into his pump knee and leads into a bro kick. And the probability of this match happening in the next 3 years is a 10 out of 10. So these are my predictions for who I think should be the ones to dethrone Bron Breakker and become the next Intercontinental Champion. And if you're asking me what's next for Bron Breakker if he loses this championship, his entire frickin' career. Breakker is only 27 years old and he has won this championship twice already. He hasn't even hit his prime yet. If it were up to me, what's next for Breakker is the World Heavyweight Championship, and give him a match against Goldberg where he squashes Goldberg in like 3 minutes. But anyway, that is it for the video today. If you liked it, give me a like, give me a subscribe, and hit that bell icon. But also, if you have your own thoughts, your own predictions about the Intercontinental Championship and Bron Breakker, let me know down in the comments below. But with that being said, stay safe, and I'll see you later.